Have you ever been deep in a chat with an AI and you're just amazed it remembers something you mentioned like 10 messages ago? How does it do that? Well, today we're going to get into the secret sauce behind AI memory. Okay, so let's break this down. For any good conversation, you've got to remember what the other person just said, right? An AI is exactly the same. Without memory, it's like having to reread an entire book just to understand the next sentence. It's totally impossible. But with memory, it's like glancing at a little notepad for the key points. One is super slow, the other is lightning fast. So this little notepad that AIs use, it actually has a technical name. It's called the KV cache. And really, that's all you need to know for now. It's the absolute heart of how an AI holds a conversation. You can just think of it as the AI's short-term memory. Right, so what exactly is it doing? Well, it's basically a temporary workspace. The AI is jotting down all the important stuff from your chat, so it doesn't have to start from square one every single time it adds a new word to its reply. It's a lifesaver. Okay, let's peek inside this digital notepad. How does it really work? It all boils down to three key things, and we call them Q, K, and V. Now I know, that sounds super technical, but trust me, the idea behind them is actually really simple. Here's how it goes. When you ask something, that's your query, or Q. The AI takes your question and uses it to scan its notepad for the most relevant topics or keywords. We call those keys, or K. And once it finds the right keys, it grabs the important information, the details, the values, or V, to figure out what to say next. It's basically a tiny, super fast search engine just for your conversation. And this all happens in two quick steps. First, there's the pre-fill part. This is where the AI reads your entire question in one go and just crams all the important info onto its notepad. Then comes the decode stage. This is the cool part. It actually generates its response one word at a time. And for each word, it glances back at its notes to stay on track. Pretty neat, right? So that sounds pretty smart and efficient, doesn't it? Well, here's the catch, and it's a big one. This digital notepad, it is shockingly expensive and slow to use. In fact, it's become the single biggest roadblock for AI right now. And to get a sense of the scale of this problem, just look at this. For one of those huge AI models, just to remember a single piece of word, what we call a token, it needs 2.6 megabytes of super expensive, super fast GPU memory. That's a lot for just one little piece of text. And that memory use, it just explodes. Get this. If only 10 people are having a fairly long conversation with an AI at the same time, you'd need over 200 gigabytes of memory just for its notepad. That is more memory than even the beefiest, most expensive computer chips have. So you can see why this is a massive problem. So here's the thing that's so important to understand. The AI isn't slow because the thinking is hard. No, the real problem is just moving all that data around. It's a traffic jam. Think about it like this. You're an author with a massive library. The writing part is easy, but for every single sentence, you have to get up, walk all the way across the room to find the right book, and then walk back. It's the walking that's killing your speed, not the writing. That's exactly what's happening inside the computer. Okay, so how do we solve this massive memory traffic jam? Well, this is where things get really cool. Some very smart people have come up with some brilliant, almost magical tricks to save memory. The first big trick is all about better organization. There's this technology called paged attention, and here's the best way to think about it. It turns the AI's memory from a spiral notebook into a loose leaf binder. You know, instead of a big, fixed block of paper, you have individual pages you can add or remove. It gets rid of so much wasted space, and just this one change means the same computer can handle 2, 3, even 4 times as many conversations. Okay, so organizing the notepad is a great first step. But what if we could go further? What if we could literally just shrink the notes themselves? Well, that's exactly what companies like Google are doing. Their turbo quant technology is basically like a vacuum seal bag for data. It just sucks all the air out, shrinking the AI's notes, that KV cache, by about 5 times. And the craziest part, it does this with almost zero loss in how well the AI performs. And it doesn't stop there. NVIDIA's DMS technology takes this idea even further, getting up to an 8x memory saving. But here's the truly mind-blowing part. Sometimes, for certain things like math or writing code, making the memory smaller actually makes the AI better and more accurate. How wild is that? So you have to realize these memory tricks, they're not just neat engineering hacks. No, They are completely changing the entire business of AI. So what does this all mean for the future? Well, for one, we're heading towards smarter, layered memory systems. We're also seeing intense competition between companies to own this tech. But the big one for us? The race is on for what we call long context. Cheaper memory is the key. It's what's going to let an AI read an entire book or your entire medical history and remember all of it in one single conversation. And here's a quick look at how experts think the next few years are going to play out. Pretty soon, these memory compression tricks will just be standard stuff. A couple years after that, we'll see those layered memory systems everywhere, allowing for massive context. And then by the early 2030s, new AIs will be built from the ground up to be super memory efficient. And that brings us to a really big final thought. For so long, memory has been the chain holding AI back. So, what happens when we finally break that chain? When memory is no longer a limit, what kinds of incredible new problems are we going to be able to solve? The possibilities are just staggering to think about.